I'm Melanie, you're watching Rose Squad Reviews, and we don't usually do this, but today I'm going to be talking about a video game. And that game is Radiant Historia, specifically the one that came out for the DS. To be honest, this was a game that my brother had played. I think he was like in middle school. Middle school or like early high school, I can't remember. And I picked it up again and thought I might go through it. And so I think I'm about a quarter of the way through now, but I wanted to give kind of like a first impression on the game as a whole, share some of my thoughts and opinions. A lot of the things I'm going to touch on are going to seem like, we'll call it critiques. However, first, before we get into that, I wanted to talk about some of the areas that I think the game really does shine. As a preface, the game came out for the Nintendo DS, so it's been at least a solid decade since it made its way into the world, and you can kind of tell with the graphics and some of the way that the game is formatted that it's not used to being on the touchscreen, it's not used to having dual screens. The graphics themselves are rather limited at times. However, it works with what it has, and it does the best it can. One of the things, however, that the game really does shine in is just the storyline and how the gameplay connects to that. One of the goals of the main character is to travel between these two kind of alternate timelines. Something in one timeline will affect the events of the other timeline. And so to be able to progress in either of them, and in the game you have to kind of go back and forth, tweaking things, as it were, as you go along. Which I think is a really interesting concept, and one that I feel like they did pretty well. And the story is engaging. I really like some of the little dialogue elements that the characters put in. Some of the characters are really funny. I appreciate those elements of the game. The downside of this is sometimes when you're traveling back and forth between the different timelines, the game, it only allows you to travel to like specific locations in time. So you can't like pinpoint the exact time that you like need to get to. Sometimes you have to like get off at the closest stop and then walk from there. So sometimes it plops you kind of in the middle of like extensive sections of dialogue, or you might have to redo an event or two. So you have to be like a little strategic about when and where you decide to like hop around and time travel. Despite its limitations graphically, the game does a really good job of kind of enhancing the small details that it can. And you might think, well, like, if it has sucky graphics, like, how is that possible? It's not so much the graphics are poor, but just that they're not as high quality as we're used to in this day and age. You do get a lot of, like, the ambiance and the feel of the locations that you're in, and some of the places have, like, kind of like a nice grunge sort of aesthetic to them. I can't really say any better words than that. Maybe I'll try and find some screenshots of the game. There is one guy that, honestly, he frightens me. He's pretty much Thomas the Train's evil uncle. Like, if Thomas the Train had an uncle that just jumped off the deep end and turned to the dark side. Which almost makes me think that he's evil. He's not evil as far as I know, but nobody looks like this for fun. The game on a whole takes on some weighty topics, we'll be honest. We get looks into the effects of war, corrupt government, different class levels in society, death, an impending apocalypse, and lots of stuff. So some of the maps in the game are really extensive, which on one hand is really cool to be like, wow, they built this ginormous universe that is kind of free roam. Like, you can roam around and explore and go your own path. Forge your own way. However, usually you're trying to go a specific direction to obtain a certain objective, and it's kind of confusing if you don't know where you're going. Thankfully, sometimes there are signs where it's like, oh, there's like this location which you're trying to be headed to is like west, and so then you're like, oh, well, I need to like generally move towards the left side of my screen. So the use of cardinal directions is nice, but it can be kind of confusing, and this is an instance that I wish they had taken advantage of the dual screens of the DS and giving you some kind of overview map to be able to say, okay, this is like where this whole area is. This is like where I am in this area. I mean, maybe you have to like achieve a certain objective to be able to like unlock different areas of the map, but I think that would have helped a lot in my explorations.